Hello and welcome back to the Cars Ireland YouTube channel. I think it's safe to say the small crossover market is officially full, but today we are going to test out two of them, the Peugeot 2008 and the Ford Puma. We will put them through a grueling test. The winner will be showered with gold, the loser will be burnt at the stake. So we'll start with the boot of the Puma. You do get an electric tailgate on this one, but that is a €700 option. Also, a nice little feature is that the parcel shelf actually moves up with the hatch to reveal the space a lot better. It's a great little feature and not something I've seen before. Also, talking about features, Puma might have the best feature of any boot ever. See, under the floor you have something called Ford Mega Box, and it's an 80-litre plastic box that you can wash out after usage, and it adds to more space to the car. Plus, also a nice little feature is there is a drain plug that you can drain out after you've washed this plastic box out. So if you have your dirty wellies, manky blankets, whatever, or maybe you could just, I don't know, use it for something else. I wonder what. Anyway, moving on. The boot on the 2008 is a slight bit smaller than the Puma at 434 litres, so about 20 litres less. I don't really think you'd notice it. The opening is actually a bit better squared off, so you will fit wider items in a lot easier. And if you drop the seats down, you reveal 1,430 litres of space. Now, there is no hidden plastic box under the boot of the 2008, but in its place, you get a space saver spare wheel. So if you have a flat tire at 3 in the morning on the side of the road, I think you'd be a bit more thankful for that. So back seats of the Puma. As you can see, I'm on the verge of being uncomfortable, but I'm certainly not, if that makes sense. Sitting behind myself at 6 foot, legroom is tight and headroom is actually pretty decent. I really wouldn't have any issue on a long journey back here. I wouldn't feel uncomfortable. It's decent. I'm not sure if you'd fit 3 adults across the back, but 2 would certainly be comfortable, no issues there. There is a magazine holder in front of you, but no USB charger ports or that type of thing. Maybe it's not called a magazine holder anymore, maybe it's an iPad holder, I'm guessing now. I'm so old. One issue we did notice was the doors could do with opening a bit wider, maybe like an inch, half an inch. They're just a bit narrow when you do open them. They're open fully. So moving on to the back seat of the 2008. As you can see, it's much more brighter and there is more space back here. It's 90 millimeters longer, so that is fair enough. Legroom is better, headroom is better, and it's very comfortable. From the entertainment side of things, it's much the same. You have your little magazine holders, but no USBs. It also feels like you sit a bit lower in the 2008, and the seats maybe aren't as spongy and cushiony as the Puma. But other than that, it's very nice back here and I really wouldn't have any major complaints. So up front in the Puma, yes, Puma, not Puma. So the first thing to say is this is the ST Line X, which is third on the spec league table for the Ford Puma. You have titanium, ST Line X, ST Line X Vignale, so really simple. The entry-level titanium starts at €25,000 and today's car is about 27 base with a couple of extras, so we're looking at 31 grand for the test car today. The extras on today's car include things like the fancy LED lights, the electric tailgate and a €1,500 driver assistance pack with extra safety features. I wouldn't have any complaints with build quality. Everything feels really well built and well put together. I'm a particular fan of the padded steering wheel, the padded armrest on the door and the padded armrest on the left side. So you get nice and comfortable, well padded, and on my motorway journey after picking up this car, I must say I was very comfortable. You get nice and relaxed in there. Ah yeah. In front of the driver here you get a very slick digital dash and you are greeted with a fierce Puma when you first turn it on. Rawr. And if you're really missing your school days, you get an eco coach which will judge your acceleration, deceleration, speed and gear shift and give you a percentage score on all of them. Don't really feel like going back to school, to be honest. There's also the option of driving modes on the Puma, so you get a few cool animations when you scroll through the different options like sport, eco, normal, slippery and trail or off-road. Another handy little feature on the dash is you can control some of the sat-nav options through the steering wheel, and it will show it up here in front. So little things like find me the closest restaurant, find me the closest fuel station. It's a handy, just a quick access, and it's up here in front of you. It's a bit safer. Now when it comes to infotainment displays, Ford are a bit behind the competitors. This screen doesn't quite match the elegance of the digital dash, and it is slightly disappointing. It works fine with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, so you can just plug those in, use that display, and it's actually much better. It's not that it doesn't function well, it's just not visually appealing as some of its competitors. One other complaint I would have is it is sort of facing the middle backseat passenger rather than me as the driver. I would like it just tilted ever so slightly towards me. I do quite like the looks in here. It is a bit subdued, but there is some fake carbon fibre around the dash and some nice splashes of red on the trim and steering wheel that just lifted it ever so slightly. Plus these seats are also excellent. They are really comfortable, squidgy but supportive. That's a hard balance to get. So moving over to the front of the 2008, the first thing that hits you, and maybe this is a cliche because it's a French car, but it's certainly more visually dynamic. There's a lot more going on here, and there's a lot more to draw your attention in comparison to the Puma. The whole dash just sweeps around the driver much better and has a much more cosseting feel, and the infotainment points towards me, which is a nice plus. I'm also a big fan of these toggle switches out in front of you. They have a nice sturdy feel to them, and they're just a bit different and a bit more dynamic, as I was saying. The 7-inch touchscreen also has Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, so just plug that in and you'll get all the functions you really need. You don't need to open the spec and get nav and all that jazz. Build quality is excellent, and I really wouldn't believe any of that old reputation of Peugeot being not well built, because this feels well put together and I really wouldn't have any complaints. Practicality is good too. You get door bins with big holes for your bottles and 2 cup holders down here. Now we're not exactly comparing like with like here. This is the entry-level active model. The Puma is the 3rd rung of the Puma league table, as I was saying earlier. But I don't think you'd feel shortchanged here really. I don't know if you'd have to go up to those higher levels. The active starts at in around €24,000, whereas the Puma starts around 25. But there is one consideration there. An entry-level active 2008 is only 4 stars on the NCAP safety rating, whereas all Pumas are 5-star. Now to get 5-star in the 2008, you have to include the safety pack for about €500. So when you consider that and add that into the price, because it's a no-brainer to really add it in, you're talking 24.5 at the basic entry level of the 2008. One gripe I do have is, now this is probably universal at this stage, but you do have to enter into the screen to change the air conditioning instead of just a quick control out here in the dash. It obviously keeps all this cleaner, but I would just prefer a simple knob. Downsides, I would say maybe the seats aren't as comfortable as the ones on the Puma, and the glove box is miserable and tiny and useless. So behind the wheel of the Ford Puma. Now some of you may know that the Puma name used to be attached to a small front wheel drive coupe, but that is no longer the case, and some people will lament the fact that it is now the name of a small crossover. But look, that's the way the world is going. Unfortunately, small coupes do not sell and small crossovers do sell. So you're going to have to build a bridge and burn it. Now the Puma is built on the same platform as the Fiesta, so you can be safely reassured that it drives really well. Ford know what they're doing with these small cars, and it's a fun, feisty little feline. Honestly, it's probably the best driving small crossover I have come across. Best in class for sure. It stays flat through the corners. There's lots of grip and very little body roll. Once again, Ford know what they're at with these small cars. Now as this handles well, the suspension is stiff, so comfort is compromised ever so slightly. This is also running 18-inch alloys, so that's obviously going to affect it even more. So you do feel some of the lumps and bumps in the road more than you would, and especially in comparison to 2008. You do feel it through the cabin a lot more. It's not a deal breaker or anything, but it is something to be aware of. So road noise is a bit higher at motorway speeds, but wind noise is well subdued, you'll be happy to know. The engine we have today is the 1-litre turbocharged petrol with a mild hybrid. Now you never really notice the mild hybrid. It sort of works away in the background, helps out with the stop-start function, and supplements the engine when it feels it needs it. In terms of power, you get 125 brake horsepower, which means 0 to 100 kilometers an hour is done in 9.6 seconds, I think, and there is 230 Newton meters of torque on offer. So it's a fizzy, torquey little engine, and actually in sport mode it is very eager and quite fun, to be fair. You never feel like you want more from the engine. There's plenty there on offer. Torque is good, overtakes are easy, and it's actually pretty economical. In our week with the car, we got somewhere between 6 and 7 litres per 100 kilometers, or 40 to 47 mpg if you want it that way. Now there's also a 1.5 diesel if you do higher miles, but I don't think most people would need to go any more than the 1 litre turbo petrol. Plus, of course, when you enter sport mode, you get red dials because red is sporty, and we all know that, and that's just a fact, and no one has to argue with me on that one. The gearbox is very impressive too. There's a nice short throw, and you can really get in and go, drop a gear, and it has lots of torque available straight away. One other thing to note is if you're not used to it, there is some regen braking here, and it is strange. So as you lift off, it will apply the brakes ever so slightly just to help regenerate that 48 volt mild hybrid battery. Also, in future there is going to be a Puma ST, a nice high powered version, so you might be tempted by that too. So I've only picked this car up this morning and I've done about 20 kilometers in it, so we're going to be learning together here. So come with me and we'll teach each other. Now we're not explicitly comparing like with like, because the 2008 is the diesel, the 1.5 diesel. Now I've borrowed the 2008 from my friend Elaine. Thank you, Elaine. She does a 150 kilometer round commute, so diesel obviously still makes a lot more sense for her. Well, she did before COVID obviously changed everything, and she's just working from home now and this car sits in the driveway. Elaine reliably informed me that her 80 kilometer commute to work works out at about 4.8 litres per 100 kilometers. That's high 50 mpg if you're still working with old money, which I know lots of people still are. Now it is a diesel, so it sounds fantastic. Okay, not really. It still sounds like a diesel, but it settles down at higher speeds, so at 100 kilometers an hour you wouldn't really know what you're dealing with. Incidentally, it does get to 100 kilometers an hour in 10.2 seconds, so it's brisk enough for a small diesel. There's 250 Newton meters of torque available, so overtakes are dealt with quickly, safely, easily. So two things hit me when I first sat in the 2008. It's a lot more comfortable than the Puma, and this steering wheel does take some getting used to. So handling is sharp and accurate, but you do have to be aware of what you're dealing with here. So if you're going on the motorway at 100-120 kilometers an hour, a small input on this smaller steering wheel will result in a larger output at the wheels. In terms of other engine options, there is a 1.2 petrol in varying degrees of power output, so 100, 130 and 155. I would like to have tested the 1.2 petrol with obviously the Puma 1 litre petrol, and I'd say the sweet spot in that range is probably the 130 brake horsepower. Enough performance and plenty of economy. So conclusions, how do we come to one? Well, to be fair, both of these cars are very competent and I wouldn't blame anyone for picking either one. If you're someone who likes a sporty drive and has an outdoor lifestyle, that boot on the Puma would be a lifesaver, and it just drives a bit better than the 2008. If you're after a bit more comfort and a bit more space, I would definitely lean towards the 2008. There's a very well-rounded, satisfactory conclusion for you. Please do like and subscribe, and hopefully we'll see you next week for another car review. See you then. Bye bye.